What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today is October 27th, which means we're only 4 days away from Halloween. In that time span, I've got two videos coming out that are both going to be holiday themed. If you guys didn't check out the Love Shack Halloween special that we did, that was a lot of fun. It wasn't all Yu-Gi-Oh, so maybe it wasn't for everybody, but it was a lot of fun live. We had people engaging with us, which was super cool, so thanks if you did come by for that. The full video, the full special is up on the channel, and it's definitely something I've wanted to do for a while, so I'm really happy I got a chance to do it. That being said, if you saw the thumbnail, you're probably aware of what this is. We are going to be doing a Ghost Trick deck profile today. I've wanted to do this for a while, and I'm really excited about the new support coming out in Battle of Chaos. It just kind of made some sense to do the Ghost Trick support kind of now with the holiday right around us. So I'm going to ask you guys, if you do enjoy the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this build, whether or not you would build it similarly or different, you know, the usual, and I'd like to interact with you guys. So let's jump into the actual profile, starting off with triple copies of Ghost Trick Jiang Shi. I still think this is one of the best cards in the deck. The fact that it's got 1800 defense is solid enough because you do have to set these cards, and occasionally you want to be able to stall. It's not ideal in this metagame anymore, but having that defense is certainly more useful than if it was like a 200-300 defense monster. Oftentimes you'll see it with something like Ash Blossom that can occasionally like block some kind of an attack depending on your game state. So triple Jiang Shi, when it's flipped up, you search a Ghost Trick monster with a level less than or equal to the number of Ghost Tricks you control. You play a lot of level 1s, so it's very easy to search something no matter what, and if you can use this and search more than a level 1, then you're in a good spot. Triple copies of Ghost Trick Siren. This is one of the new ones from Battle of Chaos, and it's really good. When it's normal summoned or flip face up, you mill the top 2 cards of your deck. Then if you mill a Ghost Trick card, you can either add a Ghost Trick spell or trap from your deck to your hand, or flip an opponent's effect monster face down. That is not a targeting effect, so it does allow you to flip down pretty much anything, which is a really useful thing to have, especially playing against things like Dragoon, if you can find ways to kind of play around that initial negate and then use this to get over them. The Ghost Trick spells and traps, at least the ones that you play, are really good, so being able to have even more access to them with a level 4 is also useful. Overall, Siren is a really good piece of support for the deck. Triple Ghost Trick Spectre, the channel mascot. I adore this card. I think it's still really good. If your Ghost Trick monster is destroyed by card effect or by battle, you can special summon Spectre from the hand and then draw a card. So he's a replenishable resource. He's obviously recyclable, and it overall is just the combo with Jiang Shi, where if it's attacked, you search Spectre, then special Spectre, draw a card. You keep your resources up, and gives you a lot to sort of play around with. The battle reliance is a little bit unfortunate, but it does still allow you to summon off of a destruction, so there's different ways to utilize him. I just think he's too good not to play at 3. And then 2 Ghost Trick Doll, a card I really like. Doll, when it's flipped face up, its effect activates, and then during the end phase, you flip all face-up monster on the field, or as many as possible, to face-down defense position, and then you can special summon a Ghost Trick from your deck whose level is equal to or less than the number of cards you flipped. So, Doll, if it flips at least 1 card face down, you get to special summon a level 1, so on and so forth. What's really neat about this is that, you know, even if it is destroyed, the effect still can resolve. It does suck that it can't flip links, obviously, and that is still a pretty heavy part of the meta, but this is a lingering effect that's going to flip during the end phase, so there are ways to utilize it. I do think Doll is a really solid option, especially with the level of change that the metagame has, and it does combo well with certain things like Ghost Trick Scare, which we'll get to in a bit. Now, Ghost Trick Mary is really good. The reason I don't max it out is because it is reliant on the damage aspect, so you have to either take battle damage or effect damage, which means it can be dead in the hand a lot, whereas at least Spectre has a somewhat easier condition to resolve. Mary, when you take damage, you discard it, you special a Ghost Trick from your deck in face-down defense position, so it is still really good. Being able to search this off of Jiang Shi, and then if you take a direct attack, summon something else, and make sure you have plays to go into next turn are really useful. It's just, it does kind of brick, and considering how easily you can recycle resources in this deck, I thought 2 was a pretty good number. Now, we've got 1 each of Ghost Trick Fairy and Mummy, particularly because they're just different names. Mummy is pretty good because it gives you an extra normal summon, which is a lot easier to pull off now with Ghost Trick Parade, or not Parade, I'm sorry, Festival, which is a Link 1. And Fairy allows you to take one from grave and set it to your field, either a trap or a monster, so it's actually really useful, especially when you think about cards like Ghost Trick Shot that make it easier to make those conditions live. I really like both cards at 1 because they do serve a niche use when you need them, but they don't really brick too much, and it's not super hard to get access to them. And that's pretty much it for the Ghost Trick part of things here. I am playing Triple Ash Blossom as the hand trap of choice. Still really good against most of the meta. The negation works really well, and Ash Blossom is just really powerful. And I'm accompanying that with 3 copies of Nibiru, the Primal Being. I know Nibiru is sort of in and out of prominence lately in terms of what people like to play, but the most important part of Nibiru for this deck is the fact that it doesn't tribute face-down monsters. So, if you use Nibiru and you have your Ghost Trick monsters set, you don't have to sack any of them, and you can still clear the opponent's board and keep your monsters out, which is just a really underrated tool that Ghost Trick has access to. I honestly forgot that Nibiru didn't actually use face-down monsters, so when I'm building the deck and kind of playtesting with it, this actually ends up working out a lot more in your favor, especially because this is a deck that doesn't mind playing a bit of a slower game, and so Nibiru is super useful. Now, moving on to the spells, I am playing triple copies of Forbidden Droplet. I do think this is kind of essential in the deck. I know it's sort of expensive, but the problem is Ghost Trick doesn't have enough tools to compete against any meta decks on its own, and you really do need the boost of cards like Droplet to help do that. Of course, you do have the ability to send, your Ghost Trick Xyz and combo off them by getting cards back to hand, so it sort of helps pay for the costs that Droplet incurs. I just think it's way too good not to play, especially considering the uphill battle that you have even making a remotely playable variant of this deck. Triple Ghost Trick Shot is the spell from Battle of Chaos. It specials a Ghost Trick from hand or grave, then allows you to flip a face-down Ghost Trick face-up, which is great because it can resolve your effects. It can allow you to go off and continue combos with things like Mummy, and like I mentioned earlier with Siren and Ghost Trick Fairy, it does give you a lot of nice combo potential while being an inherent, resource generator. And then it also allows you to banish itself from grave to attach a Ghost Trick card from your graveyard to a Ghost Trick Xyz you control. What's really cool about that is when you get into the extra deck and you can attach like a Dullahan to something, you get extra materials to make a Zeus, which is one of the biggest power plays you have, but also once that Dullahan is sent back to grave, you do get to recur a card, so you have a sort of recurring resource game going on there that's really useful. Plus, it's just awesome artwork, so that's cool too. Triple Pot of Prosperity, I know it does get pretty pricey, and I don't want to play Extravagance because you do still want to have the ability to dig into your extra deck in certain circumstances, and randomly banishing 6, if you kill off your Zeuses or your Ghost Trick cards, you're pretty much in a tough spot in terms of moving forward with the game state. Prosperity does allow you to choose your cards, as well as, being a little bit more selective in terms of managing resources, so I do think it's a much better option. Allure of Darkness is also a possibility. It's just sometimes you don't want to banish the darks that you have in your hand. I would say if you can't afford Prosperity and want to play this deck, go with the Droplets over Prosperity, and you can substitute Prosperity for Allure if you don't have that option available. 2 copies of field spells. We've got 1 Ghost Trick Mansion and 1 Mystic Mine. I hate Mystic Mine as a card, but it does work really well in this deck for numerous reasons. Mansion is the best field spell they have. I mean, none of them are amazing, but it's recyclable, which is why we only play it at 1. Mystic Mine is a card that you can actually bring out directly from the deck with Ghost Trick Renovation, which is always an interesting combo, and it's just something that helps you to stall in a deck that is slow and needs that boost. Alright, for the traps, triple copies of Infinite Impermanence. Still think the card's really good. It's another hand trap, but it also just allows you to set back row and, play through some of your opponent's cards. I'm not really reinventing the wheel with that here. Triple copies of Ghost Trick Scare, which is a really, really good card. It basically flips any number of your face-down monsters face-up. Then, if you flip up Ghost Tricks, you flip that many monsters your opponent controls face-down. This is non-targeting on the monsters your opponents that it flips, so it does allow you to disrupt combos and get over problematic cards like Dragoon, even Phoenix Enforcer, or to bait the negation or, disruption effect right there, and you're still triggering your Ghost Trick effects with this, so it's overall a really, really good card, and I do think it's sort of underrated just in terms of how well it's performed in testing as I was preparing for this deck. And then 1 Ghost Trick Renovation and 1 Ghost Trick Knight. Renovation lets you target a Ghost Trick field spell in your zone and return it to the hand, then activate any field spell directly from your hand or deck. So you can bounce your Mansion, activate Mystic Mine during your opponent's turn. This is searchable, so everything at 1 is fine. You're not really playing Desires, so you don't have to worry about like your combo pieces disappearing, and everything is recyclable or searchable. So that's why we're trying to minimize, dead draws while also maximizing our combo pieces. And this one, you can banish it from your grave to special summon a Ghost Trick Xyz on top of a different Ghost Trick Xyz you control, as long as it has a different name, which again helps play into Zeus. Ghost Trick Knight is a one-of that I would typically say is a decent card to side out depending on your matchups, but if you control a Ghost Trick, your opponent can't flip summon, so if you utilize a Scare, flip your opponent's monster's face down and flip this, it's almost like a soft lock on the opponent, depending on what they have and how, effectively you time your activation of Knight. Now, that is it for the main deck, 40 cards exactly. I'm really happy with those ratios. Alright, starting off with the extra deck, we've got 2 copies of Divine Arsenal AA Zeus Sky Thunder. This is the boss monster of your deck, and because of how easily it is to stack your materials and go into things like Ghost Trick Angel of Mischief, Zeus can be pretty potent in this deck, and you can also add extra materials with some of your spell and trap cards. Just pretty much easy to say why it's played as a multiple. It's a really, really powerful card. Now, 2 copies of Ghost Trick Alucard. This is, you know, rank 3. You don't go into it a ton for its pop effect, but it does work on occasion. It does stop your opponent from attacking your face-down monsters. I guess it's neat, but it's a recurable. No matter how it sends something to grave, you can add a Ghost Trick to your hand, so it's got a lot of use within the deck. Now, we've got 1 Relinquished Anima and 1 Link Kuriboh, both just generic Link 1s that you can make. Typically, you're going to be going into other things like Ghost Trick Dullahan with your level 1 monsters, but we're playing 2 of him primarily because of Prosperity's existence, but generally just he's decent enough. And again, you want to have materials to stack to be able to maximize your Zeus combos and your Ghost Trick Angel of Mischief. Now, I've got 2 copies of Ghost Trick Festival. This is the Link one that can use a set monster, which is fantastic. It really does solve a lot of Ghost Trick's problems. If you open any Ghost Trick and Ghost Trick Shot, you have a lot of combos you can ladder into, and that's really cool to see. The deck, unfortunately, doesn't have, like, this, like, insane level of competition that it, you know, you'd like to see it have, but it is definitely improved from where it was before these cards came out. Now, we also have a few other cards here with the Ghost Tricks in mind. We've got Nightmare Phoenix, Wee Witch Apprentice, and Nightmare Unicorn. You don't go into them a ton, but they're decent to have access to. It's easy enough to banish these with Prosperity, but for, you know, the random scenarios where you need to outstuff, these are decent enough. 2 Ghost Trick Angel of Mischief. This is a rank 4, but you can make it by overlaying it on top of any Ghost Trick Xyz you control, and then you can put this on top of a Zeus, so it's super cool for that interaction. It can't overlay on copies of itself, but that's fine. You can easily make a Zeus with two live effects, and that's definitely something decks have trouble playing around. And that brings us back to that, so there's 15 cards exactly for the extra deck. Overall, I'm really happy with the ratios for the deck, and I'm excited that I was able to get at least a first draft of something like this. I can't wait to have it in person and be able to, like, really kind of play and try things out once the Battle of Chaos cards comes out, but I think Ghost Tricks have taken a huge step forward. I don't think they're going to be winning any relevant events, but it's definitely cool to see them actually have a chance to be somewhat viable, if not a bit pricey given the circumstances. So, hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Hope everyone is enjoying the spooky season. We've got one more Halloween-themed video coming out on Friday, and I don't want to spoil anything, so just check back for that. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.